What's up, people? I am back for another video. Oh my god, always, it's always like that. Anyway, sorry about that. I am back for another review. So we're gonna continue on. I guess you can't really call this a franchise because there's only two movies, but we're gonna continue on with the Escape movies. We're doing now Escape from L.A. This is the sequel that was directed by John Carpenter in 1990. 96. Yeah, it's 96. So, I'll do the bands I love on Papa Roach tomorrow. I low-key forgot to even think about it today, so I'll do it tomorrow. And then also, we're going to be watching The Thing prequel tomorrow, so I can review it tomorrow. So I watched Escape from LA earlier. I think it's decent. Like, it's an okay sequel. I think there's a little bit of what made the first one great, like the opening, giving you that backstory and stuff like that. Obviously, Kurt Russell. The bad guy was weak. Like Isaac Hayes had that like charisma about him. This guy was just kind of generic, and he didn't seem like that big of a threat. Like the Duke, even though he was a guy, he felt like a leader, like that people followed. Whereas I don't even really remember this dude's name. Um, so I don't even really remember his name, but he was an okay bad guy. Like he worked for the movie. I guess there was kind of two bad guys because you had the guy who was the president. Um, I thought Cliff Robertson was the president. I'll admit the cast isn't as great in this. Um, I think there was moments. A lot of the side characters really didn't matter. Steve Buscemi was in it. He was kind of entertaining. Um, I think he was all right. Like I said, this movie isn't great, but definitely some people really shit on this movie. I don't think it's that bad. I think it's a decent action. If you want like a popcorn flick where you got waste an hour and 40 minutes, see some decent action. I'll admit the fucking basketball thing was cringe. I don't know what they were thinking. I'm gonna get to that when I talk. And the surfing thing. Those were what that almost like the movie became like a parody at that point. Because you had to. Okay, I'll get to it later. So pack this bowl and we get started on the review. I'll say the music was still there. Like I think there's good elements. Like I'll watch it. Definitely, it's a drop down for sure. And at least Carpenter directed it, and I do feel those Carpenter vibes to him. I just think the characters is just the kind of the weaker part. But yeah, so the film opens up. We get basically kind of like a similar backstory to the first one, where we learn about what happened to LA, and basically it became like a prison town after a massive earthquake. You could tell this was when this was filmed in '96, so this was only 2 years after the Northridge earthquake. So probably, obviously, they're just like, let's use that. So an earthquake happened and strikes the city, floods LA, and it basically becomes and the new president who gets elected um, deems not California, kind of in a fucked up way. I hate it's kind of funny. It's almost social commentary because how fucked up California is being ran right now. But just push that aside. I want to talk politics, but he declares it to be sinful and basically becomes, and he's elected president for life, which is insane. He basically turns California in or LA into like basically kind of like the first one, like a prison, and all the bad people are there. And he makes his laws that bans tobacco, drugs, alcohol, like basically like any kind of non-Christian. I do think there was a bit. I will guess it, and it's only minor. I don't think they did it too badly, but this movie you can tell kind of what, like, because there's these laws that because this was at the time probably when there were some, not everybody obviously, like, there were some super over religious people that, and I'm wondering if this was a commentary on that, and I think it's subtle. It doesn't pick a side. So now we jump to 2013. Cuervo Jones, I guess that's the guy. I didn't even remember his name. So Cuervo Jones and the president's daughter, because he ends up seducing her daughter. I guess his daughter's name is Utopia, and basically she steals his remote control to it. Obviously MacGuffin to the thing for the government. It's a thing to control the satellite system. So she steals that and lands in LA. So they hire Snake Plissken. So yeah, Snake Plissken is kind of the same deal. Gets hired by the military and says you gotta get the daughter, get the satellite remote. I think also he has to kill his daughter. I think. And then they inject him with this man-made toxin virus, and it kills him in 10 hours. Kind of the same deal. I'll admit this was a bit on the nose in terms of like this is just literally like the first one over again. And I get it though, because with a movie like this, you kind of have, especially if you're gonna call it Escape, and it's supposed to be about like a prison planet. It's gonna be similar. It was just, my God, it is just instead of the one guy from the first one, it's a different guy, and the president's played by somebody else. Well, I'll admit, I think the president does a good job of being an unlikable guy. So I think if that's what he wanted to convey, they did a good job with that. So they inject him with a thing, and he has 10 hours to get back, and the same thing, you get back, we'll get you your freedom, and, get the toxin out. So he lands in LA by going through a submarine, which I think they should have did the air thing again, because the submarine, I'll admit, that when I was watching it, the submarine part was just, yeah, the CGI is really bad. Like, and keep in mind, this same year we had, I mean, not the same year, but like within the last few years, you had Jurassic Park, even like Species had great CGI, and it's just the water scene, it just looked like a video game. I was like, it's 96, I can kind of give it a pass, and it probably had a smaller budget in a weird way. Or maybe they put more of their budget on the explosions and stuff, so maybe they just didn't put the budget in the CGI. So he lands in LA, meets this surfer guy, which, oh my, his character's okay, but like, he meets Eddie, who that's Steve Buscemi's character, who he's kind of like, he works for Cuervo, but he's kind of playing both sides in a way. And then he meets this one woman, Taz Lima, who, her and him get kidnapped by these like weird, like, kind of like, I guess, surgical people that like do surgery and take body parts. Snake escapes with the woman. It's kind of like similar in the first one, the girl he almost hooks up with, she gets killed in a shootout, and this is where he gets saved, seemingly, by Eddie. But Eddie injects him, because his car has this thing, that a mechanism, and injects him with some kind of, like, I think it's like some kind of thing that knocks him out. He meets Cuervo, and then we get the this is where we get the basketball part, and oh my god, this part was cringe. So basically, he has to shoot at the net before like a certain time, so he does it. Then big thing happens. Snake seemingly escapes, but then um, his daughter tries to follow him, but then fucking Eddie's about to shoot Snake, and then like an earthquake happens. Snake falls. Eddie makes it seem like, oh, Snake's dead, and then this is where he meets that surfer guy named Pipeline, and we get this the surfing scene where that was too much. That was not needed. That threw that in the basketball thing. I mentioned in the other video the reason the basketball thing happened. This was 1996, the height of the NBA. You know, obviously, I don't know if Michael Jordan was still playing. I mean, Space Jam was about to come out too. It just basketball was big at this point. I don't know what was with the surfing though. That I don't. And they even play like surfing music, you know, and it's just I'm like, that's a little cringe. But it's one scene. Like it's really those two scenes are like the only part of the movie where I really cringed. Everything else, like once then he meets this transgender who was actually a former friend of his. This is where Pam Grier. I thought she did a really good job portraying a transgender woman. So I thought she really did a good job at that. So he meets Pam Grier. They decide they're gonna paraglide into Cuervo's parade. You have this big. They do that big shootout. Snake and the group just kind of level people. They manage to get to the helicopter. The daughter agrees to come with him, and they seemingly escape. Um, so while Snake, also Eddie shoots Cuervo, which was I'm surprised that happened. Like, it was fucking Steve Buscemi's character, but then Cuervo shoots a rocket launcher, seemingly kills everyone inside. But Snake and Utopia escape. Snake kind of lets Utopia go because the president ordered him to kill her, and he didn't. So he lands. Snake gives him the thing, and then the president orders because they found his soldiers found his daughter. He orders her to get executed, and while he does this, he's about to use the satellite, but it turns out it's kind of like similar to the first one where it's a fake. And Snake, because throughout the film, like in the beginning, when those guys are giving him the speech, Snake tried attacking them, but they had this thing that was like a hologram thing that projected them. So that's what that was. So the president ordered to kill Snake, and it turns out it wasn't him, he was somewhere else. Uses the device and ends up saving Utopia and everybody else, and then he kind of walks off in the sunset. This film is okay, or I guess in the darkness because it was nighttime, but this film's okay. I can watch it. I think there are cringe in it. Like, a lot of the side characters don't matter. His daughter doesn't really matter. Like, she's like kind of rebelling. Cliff Robertson did a decent job of being kind of like the secondary bad guy. Good action sequences. You had the music was still pretty good. Like Carpenter, that's always gonna be good is his music. And I like the opening intro. I just think the problem with this film really is I think you needed to make the bad guy a bit more exciting. He was just kind of generic. And you take out the surfing thing wasn't needed. The surfing thing was just too much. It made the movie kind of cheesy. The movie almost felt like the tone changed when that happened. I'm like, why? Like, this went from like an action film to like kind of like a comedy, almost. And then the basketball thing, it was supposed to be like kind of like in the first one in Escape from New York, where he fought the one guy in the Fight Club. They should have just did the Fight Club again. Now, even if it would have been a retread, it makes more sense. I can accept that. Why are basketball? What? It's like, okay. But anyway, the film is alright. I would still say watch it if you like. I mean, you you don't have to though. This one's one where if you want to just watch Escape from New York and in your mind it's a one off, that's fine. I can live with watching the second one. It's fine. Kurt Russell was pretty badass. I liked his look in the movie. Um, you could tell there are moments where it was a product of the '90s, but also you still had a bit of that Carpenter tone to it at times. Just take out those few scenes. But yeah, so I guess if I were to give this out of 10, like maybe like a 7. I think a 7 out of 10 is about what I would give Escape from LA. Because it's still a fun action film that I would probably watch before a lot of current movies. It's just not as strong as that Escape from New York. I think that's what it was. It's just it's a bit of a drop in quality. I guess I'll be more mean. It's definitely a drop in quality, but it's not a giant drop in quality, but a bit of a drop in quality from Escape from New York. But overall, it's still a fun movie. You still get to see Snake Plissken have his moments. You know, you could call me Snake, and then it ends with the no, I'm Plissken. Call me like. So like you still have that. Definitely, if you don't like that, it's a retread. You're not gonna like it because it definitely is kind of a retread of the first one. But as a person who's a Friday the 13th fan, I cannot be fair and shit on any other franchise for doing that because literally Friday the 13th kind of was. Like, you can argue part 1 through, like, 8 were pretty much the same movie. Well, mainly 2 if you want to include from Jason's point of view. Kids go to Crystal Lake, Jason picks them off, kind of. Just not necessarily the same way, but that's the main thing. So I can't really shit on this movie because, yeah, there are beats where it's like the first one. You know, him getting assigned, you got to get this girl and this instead of it's the president's daughter instead of the president. You have a bad guy who took over this one area. You kind of have the Buscemi, who's kind of like a cabbie, but who played a bit of both sides. So it's definitely has some story beats, but it's like even another one. Pam Grier's character is a character that knew Snake previously. So there's that. So you have that like in the first one. So there are definitely, if you don't like that, you're not gonna like this film. But I think it's an entertaining action flick. It's an okay follow up to Escape from New York. I'll accept it as a sequel. So, but yeah, cheers to that. But as usual, fuck Warner Brothers. Fuck Disney. Fuck Joe Biden and his whole administration. Fuck LaBitch James. Fuck Kevin Smith. Tomorrow, bands I love on Papa Roach, and I will review the Thing 2011 prequel. So, but yeah, talk to y'all tomorrow. Peace.